That was awesome. That was awesome. Kurt, how many shows have we done? This is like the first, second?
Third. No, this is our third.
Yeah. Well, thanks everyone for being here once again. It is Friday, and what that means, it is time for manufacturing e-commerce success. We are laughing hard because I was waiting for the thing just to go live magically, and I forgot that we had to push some buttons to get it done. But we're excited today because we are going to be talking about answering a question with none other than Greg Mishio about our manufacturers missing a golden opportunity. Now, I am one of the co-hosts, Damon Postolka, but that pretty guy right over there, Kurt Anderson, is going to take it away and get this thing started.
Man, Damon, thank you, dude. Happy Friday to you, man. How's your week going?
Woo! It's going awesome.
Going awesome. All right, good. All right, guys, welcome to Manufacturing E-Commerce Success. My name is Kurt Anderson. What an honor, what a thrill, what a privilege. Man, are you guys sitting down out there? I know Greg's standing up. Hey, we've got Greg Mishio, the one, the only founder president of Winbound in the great state of Wisconsin. Greg, how are you, dude?
W for Wisconsin and for Winbound.
That's right.
There you go.
Hey.
There we go. Got some people dropping in, doing some comments already. We're trying to get them up while we go.
This is awesome, guys. Hey, drop a note. Let us know that you're out there. Please do yourself a favor. Connect with Greg Mishio. Man, we have a lot of juice to cover today.
Going over it.
Greg, let's just dive right in, dude. You are a great, wonderful, incredible friend of ours. You and I go back a ways to our friend from Chris Lukey from Manufacturing Happy Hour. We're pre-COVID friends, man. So that's like in dog years. That was like 100 years ago. So that was a long time ago. So, Greg, just tons of respect, admiration, love for you, what you're doing for manufacturers. I've probably asked you this question before. You've been on the show several times. You're a repeat offender, but I'm going to ask you anyway because I think I know the answer.
Okay.
Greg Mishio, when you're a little guy growing up, who was your hero? Who was your hero as a little guy growing up?
Wow. That's a tough one. Of course, flashing in my mind is my parents, my mom, my dad. But this was totally involuntary. I swear to God. But Steve Martin flashed in my mind.
All right.
And Steve Martin, Let's Get Small. I mean,
I got it. Planes, Trains, Automobiles, The Jerk. I mean, like there's just so much Steve Martin, right? What was the one with Michael Caine where they were? There's so many great. All right. So Greg Mishio, a couple things that I'd love to digest right there. Okay. Number one, you have an incredible story about your father. And I know we've got a ton to unpack with your research project, and I'm digressing a little bit. I want to talk about your dad for a second. Let's talk about Steve Martin. And I want to come back to your dad because your dad is an incredibly inspiring story. But real quick, Steve Martin. So for everybody that's under the age of us is asking, who on earth is Steve Martin? Greg Mishio, who is Steve Martin?
He's kind of, what I like about him is he kind of transcends because he's one of these guys who came on the scene as kind of this a comedian with kind of experimental theme-based comedian. He had like all these crazy skits. Super creative, super funny. And he was big on Saturday Night Live when it first started. And then he went on to become a movie star, a musician. He's a writer.
Right. Father of the bride. As a matter of fact, my best friend's daughter is getting married. And so I'm now referring to him as Father of the Bride. Remember the Wild and Crazy Guys? Remember those two? Dan Aykroyd and the Wild and Crazy Guys.
Oh.
Okay, so hey, Whitney says, "Are you kidding?" As millennials, we certainly know Steve Martin too. So,
well, he's in a great series now about something
Murder in the Building.
Murders in the building. Yeah, I'm in a condo building, and it's like, oh, that could happen here. Yeah,
that hit home. So that's a great series. And so, all right, phenomenal answer. First time ever, Damon. Steve Martin. Boy, that's going in a Hall of Fame answer right there. Huge Steve Martin fan. And King Tut. Whitney, man, how do you remember King Tut? I was like in third grade when that came out.
Yeah.
I used to play the little record in my class. So
could have won a Grammy buried in his jammies.
Yes.
Dude, that was such a classic answer, man. You made my weekend with that one. That was awesome. Whitney, thank you. Thank you for chiming in with King Tut.
The link in there.
About that one. We could go on and on, all sorts of great, incredible Martin Short movies. Just, I mean, what a epic answer that was. Greg,
yeah, it is.
We have a big research project. Everybody, curious minds are dying to know. Can you give me, just for my own sake, I love your dad. Your dad has a great, inspiring story. Just give us a little nugget about Dad, if you would, please. Another hero of yours.
Yeah. So my father is he's a retired professor of special education. So, but it's interesting how he got his start. He started out. When he was in his teens, he took a kid, he lived out in New Jersey, took a kid to a summer camp, a neighbor kid, and he went along as kind of like the friend of this kid. And the counselor really liked him, who ran the camp. And he's like, hey, I'm going to open up this camp. Would you come and be a counselor there? It's for, in those days, they referred to them as the mentally retarded or people with disabilities, so cognitively disabled kids. And my dad's like, sure. I've never had any experience with him, but it sounds great. And this guy's like, well, I don't know what I'm doing either. I'm just, I've never had any experience with them either. So, but we're just going to try this. So my dad went along. It was like the first of its camp of its kind. And he went there, and they brought all these kids up, and he loved them. They treated them just like normal kids. They didn't really, of course, they had to make some, physical accommodations, but he really loved the kids, and he had a great time. And he told me that at the end of the camp, the kids were leaving, and they all got together, and they were crying and hugging, and saying goodbye. And my dad said he realized at that point that these kids, because back in those days, they were really segregated out, and they never got to they didn't go to regular schools. They really didn't have any events. So this is the first time they got together with other kids. And my dad said he felt the magic of it right there. And he loved working with his kids. So he said, I'm going to make a career out of this. Mm-hmm. So he went to college and education. He studied, kids with disabilities. And at that point, there wasn't even special ed. So when he went on to grad school, he started to train under one of the innovators in special ed, a guy by Kirk was his name. I'm blanking on his first name, but very influential. And that started the whole mainstreaming of special ed in schools. And I think the big takeaway, and then he went on to pursue a career, and he always applied what he learned from those early days and working with those kids to his teaching of grad school teachers. So whatever he learned in the field, he applied in the classroom. And I thought that's so great. Even just like what I'm doing with sales and marketing, like the marketing is kind of we have this kind of theoretical view of how things should work. And the salespeople are like out there in the field, if you could ever kind of bring those two together. But my big takeaway, and again, it goes back to what my dad said, is like, and I kind of infer this, it's like he saw the value in people. And if we can reach out, and we always talk about this with sales and marketing alignment, if you can see the value, marketers, in your salespeople or just other people in your organization, they might not know as much about marketing as you do, but boy, do they know a lot about the customer. You can integrate that into your approach. It will do wonders for everybody, really.
Thank you. That is, I tell you, I find your father, I wish I met him, such an inspiration. You put out a great blog post about your dad, very detailed. I believe he met your mother at camp, correct?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and we could go on, we could spend the whole episode just on that, but yeah, you know what, as a matter of fact, go to Greg's website, go to Winbound. We're going to dive into Winbound next. and just, he puts out amazing, incredible content. He's the one content writer. We always talk about it, Damon, the cobbler's kid with no shoes. Like, there's so many marketers that are focusing on their clients. They don't market for themselves. Greg does an amazing job. He's constantly propelling others. He's propelling competitors. He's putting out all sorts of great information. So if you go to Winbound, check out Greg's website. There's just enormous amount of wonderful information to help you with your marketing journey. And he has a great family story on there. So Greg, thank you for sharing that. What's your dad's name, please?
George. He's still around. So if you want to come out to Madison, he'll be happy to talk to you as much as you'd like to hear.
Well, I'm sure. And I think did
Awesome.
I see a picture? Did you guys go to did I catch you at a whiskey game, or did you guys post a picture of going to a Wisconsin game? Or
oh yeah, we were at the Badger game. Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice.
Okay. So hey, big shout out to George. God bless him. What an inspiration he is. And a couple of takeaways, and then we're going to dive into Winbound. But found that passion at a very early age and dedicated an entire career. You're talking about a group of folks that maybe misplaced, or like how they long for community, and your dad brought that magic together. I mean, there's so much there's so much beauty in that story right there. So Greg, thank you for sharing that. Inger is here today. Inger, happy Friday. She says that's just beautiful.
Hey, Inger.
Yes, I just love people. So Inger, thank you for sharing that. Greg, let's dive in, because we've got a family affair going on at Winbound. So just share with the folks, who is Winbound? How do you make the world a better place?
Winbound is a digital sales and marketing agency. We work primarily in the manufacturing field, but I think our framework applies to any B2B company with complex sales. We provide content, help you create the content that you need, and then we distribute it through marketing channels. Not very different from many other agencies that are out there. What makes us a little bit different is because we are so focused in manufacturing, which is a sales-driven industry. We really believe that the content has to be completely interwoven with the sales process. And we like to say we generate, I think it's like 80% of sales interactions are occurring in digital channels, or will be by 2025. And there's all kinds of stats out there, like 57% of the customer journey is completed before a meaningful interaction with the sales team. So what we're trying to do with Winbound is, we understand it's a sales-driven industry. We're not in any way taking away from the sales team. What we wanted to do is recreate that sales presence online in the form of content, digital content, blogs, videos, everything like that, so that when customers are searching online for solutions, your content is there and it's acting like your sales team. So in essence, we're saying we want your content to be a digital twin of your sales team. And for that, we follow the sales process. People only do business with you if they know you, like you, and trust you. And we create content for each one of those stages. You guys have heard this so many times. You both could have recited that yourselves.
That not true, my friend. And so you know what, Damon, and though we may have heard it a couple of times, drop the mic every single time, Greg.
Yes.
It's just
Yes.
how you've simplified it and what you do for your clients and the results. I think like some of the companies like Spuncast, ModTech, we've done webinars together. I've seen these case studies. You have these case studies on your website. And again, it's very exciting on how you're, again, just like your dad, just like George, you're making an impact for these companies to better themselves, stop being the best kept secret, get themselves out there. And I know you're partnering with our buddy, Jeff Long. You're doing videos, all sorts of, top level content. So it's incredibly inspiring. I want to, before we're going to dive into your research project, you scratch the surface on that digital twin. For folks out there, like, hey, I heard sales, marketing, digital twin. Take us home on that. Talk about how you really simplified that process for people. We're some sales reps, they're intimidated by digital. They feel threatened by it. And what you've done is you've really embraced it. Can you just go one step deeper if you could there?
Yeah, I think there's a fellow named Drew Crow is out there. He's building what's called the manufacturing renaissance, and he's trying to bring manufacturing to disadvantaged communities and just spread the word about it in general. And when he goes to meet with young people who aren't familiar with manufacturing, he takes out his cell phone and his smartphone and be like, okay, you guys show me your smartphone and show me what you're doing. And they'll be like, well, they're like showing them some graphics they've come up with or something like that. And he's like, that's awesome. You see what you're doing? That's like you're pushing buttons. You could come over here to this machine and do the same thing and make a lot of money. And so what he's doing is he's meeting them halfway.
Right.
And I think what we're trying to do with our content is meet the sales team halfway in that, look, we know you have a sales process. We want the content to kind of mirror that sales process. So tell us what you're doing. Tell us what messaging is working. And we're storytellers. We can help craft it and help you craft your story for the digital age. And I think a lot of it is, that online presence is taking place. So we start there with a strategy. We've read a lot of sales strategy books. We know a lot of different approaches. So we've got that mindset going in. And then we're just trying to get everything down to that handoff to the real people, because I don't know, guys, there's a ton of AI out there. There's a lot of online, but in complex sales, at some point, the people are going to enter the fray.
Yeah.
And so we really we're trying to just work with the sales team to integrate them. And we also want them to be a distribution channel for the content and do things like online with LinkedIn. I mean, you can have a company page online, but man, it's those individual profiles that really make those connections with people. So we want to help them get better at that and build their own personal brands as well, and give them the content and the ideas and the tools and the training to do that.
Well, I love that. Hey, Brian dropped a comment. Brian, thanks for joining us. Happy Friday to you, my friend. Great, Greg, great way to say it. Again, we're here with Greg Mishio, Winbound, a fierce advocate for U.S. manufacturing, marketing guru. And so, Greg, is it true? There's a rumor on the street, Damon. Have you heard this rumor? There's a golden opportunity just waiting for manufacturers. Have you guys heard this rumor going around?
I've heard it.
Let's talk about it a little bit.
You know what? Let's just head first, dude. Let's just go head first. Greg, we have a little presentation here that we're going to pull up for everybody. So, Greg, let's dive in. You did an amazing, incredible research project. We're calling it the Manufacturing Content Benchmark Report. Curious minds would love to know what inspired this, and then let's dive into the results.
Okay, hang on. Let's see. Yeah. So there's research out there that's saying that, I gave out some of those stats earlier where I said that, so much of this content journey is taking place online. So much of the sales journey is taking place online, customer journey. I'll get it right sooner or later. And there are manufacturers who say that, yes, once we put out content, we're getting positive results. So we wanted to see, okay, well, how many manufacturers are actually out there and sharing content and using the tools that's proven to be effective? So we went out and spearheaded by my son, Sam Mishio, who joined the company back in July. We went out and we analyzed over 400 manufacturing websites, and we looked to see what pieces of content are out there. And we went through all different sizes of, we strayed away from under 5 million, but really went, I think that was our cutoff, but we went from there and then segmented it out. When you download the report, you can see the segments. I think it was under 25 million, then 25 to 100 million, and then above that. And we looked at the 3 types of content corresponding to the sales funnel that I mentioned earlier. Content that lets people know you, like you, and trust you. And you can think of it it's kind of like people talk about awareness, interest, action, that kind of, there's all different terms in terms of like, what do you do you create to generate an actual lead or engagement? We think of it as know you, like you, and trust you. And so we looked at those 3 specific types of content. Okay. And I'm just going to share a few slides here. You can download the report to see the results, but sales and marketing, or I'm sorry, manufacturing tends to lag behind other B2B arenas in terms of what they're generating and, marketing especially. So we were expecting to see a little lag in comparison to some other B2B industries. But we were a bit surprised by what we actually found. So when we looked at the percentage of manufacturers are actually using social media, and that lumps in YouTube as well as LinkedIn, I found that 39% of them actually have no social media. 9% are inactive on social media, and there are 51% that are active on social media. And now this is not just specific to the lower echelon in terms of revenue of manufacturers. It was really surprising. There's people who just aren't out there and buying that. People are on social media and they're looking for resources and information. And I think our good friend Jake Hall, the manufacturing millennial, sums it up. Do trade shows to meet people, exchange information. But if you are only doing that and not using social media, you're wasting money and losing customers. And he based that on the fact that he went to a trade show and he walked around, he looked at all the booths, and then he went and looked at all the booths at the company's websites, and found a staggeringly low number. We're not even mentioning that they were at the trade show.
Yeah.
Doing any kind of marketing to try and generate a response and get people to their booth. So that's a slide about social media. So a lot of people are not out there in YouTube and LinkedIn. Next slide I want to bring up here is the percentage of manufacturing websites with a blog. So a lot is said about how important video is in manufacturing, and it is extremely important. But also content and written content is very useful and very important in search engine optimization. And SEO is still critical for manufacturers. In this blog content, informational content that helps answer people's questions, provides information and data and insights on your products or just solutions in general is critical. So you need that complementary text out there so Google can see that you are an expert on this field and you have semantic content in addition to your YouTube that will help you rank for your product or services terms. So this was pretty eye-opening. 74% had no blog on their website. Only 21% had an active blog, and 4% had inactive blogs on their website.
Right.
74% without blogs.
Right. Hey, we've got a couple of comments here I'm going to grab.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We got Whitney saying, hey, the bar is low for marketers and manufacturing. Doesn't take much to stand out. Chris gives a rounding applause. Great point, he says. Yeah. And Whitney, once again, happy Friday. Manufacturing leaders often don't understand marketing at all. You know what? In their defense, they just never needed it. It was word of mouth. Yeah. It was trade shows. It was like, hey, the owner's going to jump in the car, drum up a bunch of sales, come back, and they're busy. It was just a totally different life. And so, unfortunately, a lot of them are our age, right? And this whole digital thing is new to them. So tons of opportunity. Greg, keep it going.
Yeah, I think, Kurt, that's the point of all this research. This is not to point fingers or to say anybody's doing anything wrong.
Right.
You are exactly right, Kurt. What has worked in the past? Hey, of course, you want to do what's working. And a lot of manufacturers out there, they might still be sitting pretty and things are continuing to work, right, Damon?
Yeah.
But that's not to be said that there's a lot of opportunity today, and it's going to increase. I mean, just think how we all shop. I don't care, who you are. You're going online first and foremost when you're looking for products, and you're doing research. So just that idea of you could grab search engine traffic, and I think even with some of these things that are coming out with ChatGPT, I don't think that there's still going to be search engines, and whether it's ChatGPT, people have always looked for online content in one way or another. Now, how it gets synthesized, whether it's a search engine or a ChatGPT, it's got to be produced by someone in the first place in order for it to get sourced. So you got to get out there. And if you're not, this quote by Andy is great. Andy runs Orbit Media, and he's a great content marketer. You are deliberately letting your competitors win that huge amount of visibility and traffic if you don't seize this golden opportunity.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. And Whitney, I love this comment here.
Yes.
At least, they can see they have knowledge gaps, and hopefully I think that's changing. I think that it's, there's an evolution. Greg, if you did this a few years ago, that 74% might've been 90%, right? Or 90 some percent. So, I mean, thankfully there are 20% that are in that space, but I love what you're saying here, Whitney. And like, hopefully that they're starting to get it. And as the younger, buyers owners and buyers are getting younger, I think they're realizing it. Damon, what's your takeaway?
Yeah, I think completely. You see this now in the companies that we're working with. They at least understand that they need to be marketing. They understand that content is part of that. And some are not consistent at it, but the ones that there's virtually no one that doesn't think they don't need it anymore. But I think, like you're saying, Greg, some of these companies are still doing really well. So it's like, well, we're still doing really well. So I'm not at the top of my list, right? I think it's one of those things like, we should really clean that back part of the shop out too. But
and and I think with COVID, when we had a lot of labor shortage and challenges, a lot of manufacturers like, I couldn't take on another customer at the moment.
Good point.
But where you always point out, Damon, is they're like, all right, well, you're not just recruiting and marketing to customers, you're recruiting and marketing staff. And so once again, like to Whitney's point, to your point, Greg, like if you're not blogging, if you're not putting out content, people are going to want to work at somewhere where they're talking about their culture and what they're doing and all these other great things, so Greg, keep it rolling, dude. What else you got?
Okay. So we talked about YouTube and how manufacturers are reporting that, and the Content Marketing Institute does a study on manufacturers who are doing content marketing, and they say that videos are one of the most effective form of content. Well, lo and behold, 65% of manufacturers do not have a YouTube channel.
Can you say those numbers again, please?
65% of manufacturers don't even have a YouTube channel. I think it's worth noting too that they might have a YouTube channel, but 22% are inactive on YouTube. So that means that maybe they've put up a product video, 5 years ago or something. And we were very generous with our definition of active and inactive. I think it was like you posted once in the last 3 months, we're definitely cut you some slack.
Right.
Everybody's rolling out new products continuously. You should be posting new videos out there.
Right.
So, and even if you're not rolling out new products, there's plenty of ways to demo them. We're working with a client right now who is using demo videos in tandem with their content marketing to drive people to come to the trade show, and they're showing them what they're going to demo in the booth.
Yeah.
very simple tactics that you can use out there to leverage that YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And our dear friend, Kurt Anderson, do you recognize this guy? Kurt Anderson
Seen him
provides
before.
such a simple statement, but it's also so true. Provide all the necessary information to help your ideal prospect make a buying decision. So have you guys read They Ask You Answer by Marcus Sheridan?
Yeah.
Okay. Marcus Sheridan used to own a swimming pool company. And this is back in the early days of content marketing. And what he did is he wrote down all the possible objections and questions that customers might have about doing business with him, or just questions in general about swimming pools. And he posted that stuff online. And he would even talk about on his website, it's a great book. I highly recommend it to anybody. Yeah. But he talked a lot about too, like comparisons. Like he would write comparisons between his company and other companies. And he would say why you should use other companies versus himself. Where's their strengths versus ours?
Right.
And we actually have a comparison page on our website. Feel free to take a look at it. It's compares us versus like Demand Gen versus other agencies. It's actually the most visited, except for our homepage, it's the most visited page on our site. I never realized it would do that well. And since we put it out, people go to it a lot. Right. People want to compare you. So, and as they're trying to make a buying decision, give them all the information you need. I mean, we even post pricing for ourselves online and how much we cost. It builds trust. They trust you. You know, it's they see you have nothing to hide. And so even if you can't post a price, post as much as you can about what goes into your pricing so you can build that bond.
Okay. Another drop the mic right there. That was fantastic, Greg. And I know so many manufacturers push back on that. There's a, you know, and I get it. And sometimes, especially for our custom manufacturers where it's a very complex situation or they're making something for somebody else, but there's a lot of things that can be done to help nurture and satisfy that. And I love what you're saying here, Greg and Damon. We talk about that all the time. You know, how do you help that ideal buyer make a buying decision on a Friday night at midnight without having to wait for you to open up your doors on Monday, or at least just have enough information for that know, like, trust that you constantly preach, Greg. So I love it. All right, let's keep the party rolling. What do we got next?
All right. I think we're just about, yeah. So that's what I brought, because there's plenty more to talk about in that report. You can go ahead and takes you to a blog post where we actually share some more insights. And at the end of the post, you can download the report. There's no email sign up required to download it. Just grab it if you want. There is a sign up form if you want to sign up for our newsletter, where we release insights like this, as well as some of the content Kurt was talking about on a regular basis. And if you sign up for our newsletter, you can also get all our resources that we provide, some of the reports and guides we've done in the past.
Nice.
I think in the report also, we talk about like case studies and testimonials and how few manufacturers are out there publishing those. We talk about that middle of the funnel, that's bottom of the funnel content, that trust you content. We also talk about the middle of the funnel content, which would be what we call like you content, and that's white papers, configurators, online configurators. Our good friend Christine Harrington produces great online configurators with her company Gen Alpha, for example, and she's quoted in the report. And we talk about that middle funnel content, like those are the insights that are helping people make those buying decisions and providing them with some clear guidance on how they can improve their business. Because as we've talked about before, when you're talking to a B2B buyer with a complex buying decision, they're very resistant to change. And they are not going to change unless you can prove to them that because change is painful, right? Changing over to option B is a painful process. There's no getting around it. It's like moving, it's just painful. But you have to prove to them that the pain of staying where they are in the status quo is greater than that change. And you have to provide the insights that prove that to them. And that's kind of what we're trying to do when we say, look, look how many buyers are online. If you want to stay with your current method of sales and marketing and just rely on the trade show and the golf courses, only you're going to be missing out on this golden opportunity to get out there and get into the digital territory. That's what we call it, and claim your stake.
Phenomenal. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Phenomenal, Greg, if you don't mind, we've got a couple of minutes. Can you just share, like, you've really gone all in on video yourself. I know you're doing a great job with Jeff Long, our dear friend from True Focus Media, Dayton, Ohio. Check out Jeff Long's website. He and I just did a webinar recently together, just last week together. And so he's doing amazing work. Talk about you've gone all in on videos. Your customers have gone all in. Spuncast, just talk about what are some of the results that you've seen going that video route?
Well, we definitely see it performing better on social media. I would say we've gone all in terms of we've tried to add it as an omni-channel, try and get more of an omni-channel approach because people consume content in different ways. So we've tried to use it as just another tool to add to the mix. And I think it's definitely, like I said, the organic social, without a doubt, those are typically the most popular video social posts that we put out there. So it's great to use. It's great. We create the posts or the videos and then we embed them in our blog content as well. And, that's another signal to Google and the search engines that you've got multimedia on your content. And if you created a post that is ranking, that can help. And I tell you what, we're also doing is putting it on our key buying pages in terms of getting product demos or just getting a short intro explaining the product. And that is definitely helping on conversion rates. So there's just so many uses for it, and it's just so ubiquitous. It's you can't ignore it.
Can't ignore it. So, Greg, let's go here as we wind down. Folks out there, so for our manufacturers that are falling in that 74% on blogs, or maybe just they finally realize, yes, I concede, Greg Mishio, I need to start my digital marketing journey. Tips, suggestions, where does that manufacturer start that really is starting at ground zero? What would be a good place for them to get going?
Well, any process is going to begin with a research. Obviously, you're gonna have to assess your own resources. What do we have in house? What can we do? What kind of time commitment can we make? How much are you spending for a new salesperson? So if you figure you want to grow, look, we know we have to get to digital. We know we need to get to the digital territory. Think about it in terms of as you're allocating your budget, think about it. You're trying, everybody thinks in terms of geographical territories, right? With their sales team. Are you out in the digital territory? Do you have anybody in that territory? And if you don't, you think of whatever you're spending on a salesperson and maybe should allocate that to marketing and get into the digital territory. Right. So, that's just a couple ideas on how to assess your resources. But then it's strategy. It's creating the strategy on how are we going to get out there? How are we going to align sales and marketing? And then finding the people and the resources to actually implement and execute the strategy.
Nice. Well said, my friend. That was phenomenal. Okay, guys, let's start winding down. Damon, takeaways, thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share from this dynamic conversation. This incredible.
I'm just soaking it in, man. I'm just soaking it in because it's always when you can get Greg on the stage, you can listen to him and just learn from him. There's so much good. I've just been writing notes like crazy because, you know, back even when you were talking about, I remember one of the very first conversations, Greg, how you articulate the difference between top, middle, bottom funnel content, make it simple to understand. And, you know, and then, you know, how you clearly articulated the opportunity here for manufacturers to get going, at least get going, just get going. Because when you've got, what the heck was it? 74% with no blog, put something up, start with something that'll help. 65% of manufacturers don't have a YouTube channel. Heck, everybody's got a damn cell phone that can do a video. Dude, like you said, do some product videos, do some demos, do something and start posting it for your company on the page and start doing this, because just by doing that, if your blog, you do a few blogs, if you get just a little bit of activity on your blog, you're ahead. You're one of 20% that do that.
Right.
Right. The right blogs will drive tons of potential traffic to you. The same thing on YouTube. You can be one of 35% right now that are actually using it. And like you said, this is not just the huge manufacturers, medium. This is across all of them. So that I would guess, I'm just hypothesizing here though, that smaller manufacturers are even worse than that. So you're sitting here with like Kurt and I like to talk about this 25-person manufacturer in Ohio. I bet there's 10%, 15% of the people that are doing these kind of things. And just by you doing it, you're going to light yours ahead.
And think about too, take a manufacturer's perspective to marketing, because I feel like there's this kind of mentality where it's like, well, we tried that and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Well, look, you are going to fail as you are starting your marketing. As a quick quote here from Teddy Roosevelt, the credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. And he goes on to say, you know, those who do that at the best know in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly. So you got to get out there. You got to dare greatly. And it's a process. You will err time and time again. You will learn. You will grow. You guys, even though you had a huge setback when you started the show, because Damon forgot to turn on the feed, you learned how to deal with that kind of adversity, and you picked it right up. So, I mean, I'm kind of joking around here, but
flawlessly,
you know, learn so much more. Winbound is so much further ahead than we were 3 years ago, and our revenue show it. And manufacturers, as you embark on your journey, you will learn and grow. You got to dare, and you got to dare greatly. You got to put yourself out there and get past that fear factor that everybody has.
Amen. That's all I'm saying.
Dude, moment of silence. One of my favorite quotes of all time. My dog my dog Theo was named after Theodore Roosevelt. So that was that is one of my absolute favorite quotes of all time. Greg, thank you. God, what a great episode this was, man. I'm ready to run through a wall. I was so inspired by your dad, George. You've brought in your son, Sam. You've made it a family affair at Winbound. You've just your relentlessness, and you didn't have to do this research project. I mean, like, there's a lot of time and energy and cost and expense that went into something. Gail's here today. Gail, happy Friday, my friend. His research is so much great info, and so love that. Big fan of his work. So, Gail, thank you for stopping by. I saw Whitney dropped another point. Thank you, Whitney, about how important it is to market for staff, not just for new customers. So, Whitney, always appreciate your support here. Greg, that was phenomenal. That was what a great way to wind down the week and wrap up the weekend. Let's go here one more time, Greg. Great, best place to find you, of course, here on LinkedIn. Where else can folks find you? Get that research report. I know. I'm going to pull it back up. Just share your website with everybody.
Yeah, and you can go to winbound.com. It's win as in win the game, as in Packers win. Winbound.com. You can visit us at any time there.
Man, he was doing so
Had
good.
to throw that in there. He was going good.
He was doing so good. So, all right, hey, speaking of sports, let's go here, Damon. Let's take it home, right? Greg, you ready? And so, are you a Brewers fan by any chance, or baseball? Are you a baseball guy?
Yeah, sure. I cheer for the Brewers.
Okay, so Brewers are playing the Cubs. Bottom of the ninth. Tie score. Guy on second base. 2 outs. We got to win. We need a hit to win the game. Okay. Manager just left to go to the Cubs, but the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers looks down the bench, says, "Hey, Mishio, grab your bat, get your helmet on, get up to the plate, hit in the winning run for us, will you please?" You grab your helmet, you grab your bat, you're walking to the plate to hit in the winning run at the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs. What song is on the loudspeaker? What is your walk-up song?
Climb every mountain. Climb every music. Climb every mountain.
What? Who wouldn't play Broadway for a walk-up song, right? What a great Broadway, right? So Damon, I was on a podcast yesterday. I was asked that same question. I threw out Baby Shark. I went with Baby Shark.
That Baby Shark was
Baby Shark. I didn't mean to one-up you. I'm a one-upper. Didn't mean to one-up you, Greg. But all right, we're going to go with Sound of
Broadway.
Music.
There you go.
We're going with Sound of Music. Julie, your best Julie Andrews.
So you got to put this comment in there. Look at that. Shout out to Dad.
Hey, Sammy.
Or Sam. Nice. I didn't see that one. Shout out to Dad.
Just came in. That's so awesome, man. So
Samuel,
awesome.
thank you for your research. Thank you for joining Dad in the world of manufacturing.
What's Damon's song?
My song. Oh, I've got 2 though, because if I was the pitcher walking out, it'd be Ted Nugent Stranglehold. And I still am trying to figure out what my walk-up song would be if I was batting. So I don't.
We had a good one recently. Remember, Put Me in Coach? Remember that song?
Yeah, Put Me in Coach.
That was a good one. Somebody like, and they didn't know the question was coming, and they dropped that one. That was a great
answer.
Dropped
it in like that.
They dropped it in like that. So, all right. Greg Mishio, thank you, my friend. We appreciate your support, your friendship, everything that you're doing. We wish you, George, Samuel, your entire family, an amazing, wonderful holiday. Merry Christmas. What do you got, dude?
Can I just say one more thing? Can I say shout out to you guys and thank you very much for all you do for the manufacturing industry. You guys have been doing this for how many years now?
15. 3.5, I think we're on.
There we go. Something like that. Yeah.
COVID. For 23 years, you guys have been on the air, allowing people to share their stories, giving voice to people that, maybe even aren't on LinkedIn or, I don't know where you find some of these guests. They're amazing that you bring here week after week. So thank you to you guys for all you're doing for the industry. And you guys help so many people. It's a beautiful thing.
Well, thank you, Greg. Appreciate it. And it just, having this jam session right here was just so powerful. And that's why Damon and I do this week in, week out. Yeah. Damon, we're taking a break on Monday. So I'm going to be traveling. And so we're taking a little breather on Monday. We're going to be back here next Friday. We have Joe Sullivan, Wendy Covey, and Adam. We're going to be talking about the Industrial Marketing Summit. So I want to give a shout out to our friends. Greg, you are a sponsor of the Industrial Marketing Summit. So I finally get to meet you in person. It's been awesome. way overdue. But we just had Mary Keogh was on the program this past week. We've got Eddie Saunders coming up at next month. We've got Jordan Yates coming up. Chris Lukey is going to be on the show. All these guys are speakers at the Industrial Marketing Summit. Greg Mishio is going to be there. So again, if you want to be where all the cool kids are hanging out, you want to go to the Industrial Marketing Summit, I'll be there. Damon, we got to get you there, dude. We got to get you down to Austin. So
we'll see if we can make it happen.
All right, guys, have a great weekend. God bless you. And hey, Damon, just like what you like to always say, just be someone's inspiration, just like George, just like Greg, just like Samuel. Damon, take it away, dude.
Well, Kurt, I'm so excited whenever we get to talk to Greg, because he came and he threw down such great information that manufacturers need to soak up today. We had all these great guests or great listeners. Give it a bot. See, I couldn't start it, can't finish it. Yeah, but we had all the great listeners coming in, dropping in the comments. Thanks so much for being here every week. We really appreciate it. And I will just say, go back and go over this, listen to the video again, go to Winbound, download their report. They'll show you a lot of good things about getting your manufacturing company where it needs to be in the digital age. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back again next week. Thanks so much.
See you.